Hey everybody, Jim the Tabletop Engineer here, and welcome to a new episode. This is another 5 Leagues from the Borderland playthrough video. Now, am I playing? Not yet. I'm not to that point yet. But the videos will become more and more miniature tabletop related once we get through some of these initial phases. If you've watched the previous 2 videos, in the first one I made my warband, and in the second one I came up with the region that I'm going to be operating in: towns, villages, hamlets, unknown locations, delves, hideouts, and campsites, and those kind of things. So, in this video, before we get to an actual gameplay, I believe this will be the last one, I am going to be doing what's called the preparation stage. Now, if you're at all familiar with 5 parsecs from home, you will know that there is, before the battle, there is a bunch of pre-rolls that you make random, and then there's a bunch of post-battle rolls that you make. Right now, the preparation stage is it's that collection of rolls that you make before you actually do a combat game on the table with miniatures and such. The preparation stage sort of helps you get ready for a battle, and then it focuses on what kind of activity you want to do. You don't have to just go looking for a fight, and I'll explain that shortly. But what I want to do right now is, now that I am actually in a small village, I want to run through the preparation stage, because I'll be doing this before every major action that I take with my warband. Now, it's broken down into 7 parts, and the first one is called local event. So you do this if you're in a town. There's a table for town events, and in this case, the word town applies to hamlet, village, or large town. It's sort of a coverall world. It's not just for if you're in that largest of the 3 types called town. This is a town event. And there's also a camp event. So when you are not in a hamlet, village, or town, when you're out in the wilderness or at an unknown, unexplored site, you're camping, basically. And there is a different table for that. But today I'm going to be rolling on the town events table. And again, I'm using green, will always be the high digit, the tens digit. And I rolled an 88. So let me see what that is. 88 is something for the road. A kindly old person packs you a lunch. The locals give you 1 pack of rations. So I have +1 rations. That's good. You need rations in order to survive, and so those will come into play later on. It says, that's all it says for that. Now, I don't want to ruin a lot of the surprises, but there are some of the events are that you get pickpocketed. Some are that you encounter bad weather, and so it slows you down. You don't get to do a campaign activity that turn. There's quite a few. I would say there's probably 40, maybe 40 different random events that can happen, and that's just in town. And then it also happens when you're out and about camping. So step 1 is done. Now step 2 is called hard times. This is where you spend money. Right now I have 5 marks to my name, which is not a whole lot. It says upkeep. A warband has associated costs: food, ale, replenishing arrows, etc. You must pay gold marks, and it's based on the number of your warband size. I have 6 members, so my upkeep is a D3. So basically, I roll a D6 and divide by 2, and that's a 6. So I will actually spend -3 marks. Now, it says if you don't have the money. Now, this is also to pay your followers and keep everybody loyal. Characters can be loyal, disgruntled, and if they become disgruntled, you have to flag that on the character sheet somewhere. If they become disgruntled, there are things that can happen during your game which can cause them to abandon you. So keep them happy, keep them loyal, which is what you want, and that means paying your upkeep costs. Now, it does say that you can there's an activity coming up called Help the Town Guard or Live Off the Land, which allows you to avoid paying that cost. I I might choose to do that because right now I'm down to 2 marks, which is not a whole lot. And why do you need marks? Because later on there's a phase called trade where you can buy things. Now you come to healing. In the hard times, there's a lot of things going on here. There's upkeep, and healing. So I have no one that needs to be healed right now. So let's say that you went on an adventure and one or two of your followers or your heroes got injured, not killed, but injured. You have to do upkeep costs. If you paid your upkeep costs, injured ones heal a turn. So like let's say you rolled that they were down for 3 turns. That's a lot for a follower or a hero to miss. During the healing phase, if you paid your upkeep, which I may do, or if you go and do the help the town guard or living off the land, you can take off 1 turn every campaign turn. Does that make sense? There are other things that you can do. There's potions, and sometimes you encounter people that can do healings and things like that, and it can all take off healing turns that are required. But right now, I have none of that, so I don't have to worry about that. Now, during step 3, this is where you do campaign activities. Now, I said earlier that I might choose to help the town guard because 3 marks is a lot. For the campaign activity, you're going to pick 2 activities that you can do. Blacksmith allows you to fix weapons that have become damaged. You can forage for herbs, which are healing and are magical in nature. You can gamble. You can do hard work, which is what I might have to do. Help the town guard, which is what I probably will end up having to do. You can go on a hunting expedition, live off the land, meet the locals, mystic expedition, pray, recruit, scout, study, train, and visit the town healer. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That is 15 activities to choose from, and you get to pick 2. This is somewhat similar to the 5 parsecs from home. In 5 parsecs from home, I believe there's only about 7 activities you can do. You can trade, train, look for a patron. I can't remember. There's not 15. There's about half of that, or maybe even less than half. Now, in that activity, each of your warband members can perform a task, but the rules state you can only do 1 task up to 2 times. Here, it doesn't matter how large or small your warband is, you can only pick 2 of these activities. Now, I read through these again last night, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the Help the Town Guard, and all of these are explained in great detail later on. Well, not great detail, but enough detail to know what's going on. It says, Help the Town Guards. A night breaking up drunken brawls and watching for wolves. This option is not available in a hamlet. Your upkeep costs are offset this turn in return for polling. So I'm going to do Help the Guard, and what that means is I don't have to spend that 3 marks. That goes away, and then I'm left with 1 more activity. Well, looking through this, I don't have any weapons to repair. I don't want to gamble. Foraging for herbs might be a possibility, although it does require a roll that you pass, a skill test, and it's high. You're going to roll 2d6, and you have to roll 8 or higher to find the right herbs. I don't have my warband with me. I should go check it, but I think one of them maybe has a wilderness background, which I could use their +1 or +2 on that roll. But let me come back to that. I don't have that with me right now, so we'll see. I've already done Help the Town Guard. Hunting. I could go hunting and see what I got. Hunting is interesting. It can provide food. It can provide pelts, which you can sell. It can reveal unexplored locations that you will add to your map. And it can do other things. I'm not going to live off the land. I'm not going to meet the locals, although the locals can do some interesting things, and it doesn't cost you any money. So I may do a meet the locals. I can do a mystic expedition. I have 1 mystic, and they can go out and find what are called strands. You have to have strands to cast magic, so that's possible. You can pray, which gives blessings to 1 member of your warband. You can recruit. Right now, I don't want to spend 1 gold mark to go recruit. And the recruit is not necessarily going to happen automatically. You will roll a leadership test. In a hamlet, you're going to roll -1 because it's harder to find somebody in a small hamlet. In a town, you would roll +1. In a village, I guess it's just a standard roll. And then you have to pay. If you currently have 1 or 2 heroes, you may recruit a follower or pay 2 additional gold marks to recruit a hero. That's if you manage to successfully recruit. I'm not going to scout. I'm not going to study. I'm not going to train. I'm not going to visit the town healer. So it looks like I'm going to do meet a local. And for this, I'm going to roll a D100. And there's a chart up here. Now, I am in a village. So there's 3 columns, hamlet, village, town. So I'm looking at the village. And I rolled a 59, which is spend time and have a drink. You add +1 story point. All right, so I get +1 story point. And that doesn't sound like much, but believe me, after playing 5 parsecs from home, you are going to come to love when you get story points, because they do allow you to occasionally re-roll things or change the story in a way that is beneficial to you. So that's not a bad thing. What else could I have gotten? I could have gotten an adventure point, a brief chat, which does nothing, and I could have rolled up a contract. And a contract is a job that you can do for gold or some other reward. So I've done my campaign activities. Now step 4 says trade, and it says town only. In this case, it doesn't mean the town and not the hamlet or the village. It means town or camp only. So you were either, your warband is either camp only or town only. And in this case, I am town only. It says during this step, you can buy and sell equipment. You can buy anything listed on the common goods table on page 88. Well, if you come over here to page 88, there's a list of maybe 10, 20, maybe 25 things that you can buy. You can buy weapons. Let's see, what else can you buy? Armor, shields, bandages, mules, camp gear, coil of rope. You can buy strands, which the wizard needs. However, they are 6 marks, and I don't have that much. You can buy torches, which I believe you're going to need at some point when you go delving. You can buy rations. And some of them are flagged as single use, so you have to note that you're just buying 1 coil of rope or 1 ration or whatever. So, and it says you can only buy 1 item per turn. So I could only buy, say, 1 light armor or 1 light shield. So I made the mistake of not bringing my warband sheet down here, and I'm not going to make you wait for this. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a question mark here. And I'll do that on the PDF sheet, and I'll make if you follow along with my videos, every video most videos, you will be able to download the updated PDF of my warband. At the bottom of the warband sheet, and at the bottom of the map sheet, which you'll be able to download updated versions of that, I will have a note section, which I will make note of things that I did that may have been out of game or out of video that you didn't know. So right now I've got 5 marks to spend, and I may buy maybe a light armor or something for my warband, but without my warband sheet in front of me, I'm not going to do that. And it's a thinker. You want to think about it. And since I'm making this video for you, I don't want to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes pondering what I'm going to purchase. So I'll come back to that and do that out of game. So, by the way, this is another interesting aspect. Okay, those adventure points that you're collecting. There are things you can do at certain times of the game called milestones. When you hit during it's not just during step 4, it's during the prep phase. It lists an adventure milestone box here. It's like a little sidebar. I can choose to gather money or invest in the community, but I can't just do that. I can't just do it for free. It costs adventure points. The way that works is, if you choose to try and achieve a milestone, you roll a d6. You first off determine how many adventure points you have. Let's say I have 3. All right, I have 3 adventure points. This gather money says you may attempt to do this milestone, and if you do, you get gold marks equal to the die roll. Okay, so this is fake. I'm not doing this. I think I only have 1 adventure point. So let's say I have 3. I could say I'm going to use all 3 for this. You have to roll equal to or below the die for that milestone to be achieved. So let's say I rolled a 4. Well, I don't get those 3 adventure points back, and I failed to gather money. But let's say I rolled a 2. Sorry, my laptop was about to die. So you basically, now because I made it, it said if it achieves, you earn gold marks equal to the die roll. So I would get 2 gold marks. I would hate to have spent 3 adventure points to get 2 gold marks. But I guess if you really needed money, you could have done that. So at various times, you got to keep your eyes open. You're going to find these sidebars that are labeled milestones, and you can choose at that point to spend adventure points. Now, I'm not going to do it this turn, so let's move on to step 5, which is called the research phase. You may wish to do some preparatory work for the adventure ahead. During this step, you may carry out a roll for connections, or you may track down a camp or hideout. Well, I know where the 3 camps are. I don't know where the hideouts are, but I am not yet ready to do that. So rolling for connections is like to see if you have a friend or a contact in this town. It's kind of like the patron thing, but it's a little different. But having friends in towns gives you later in the game you can do certain things. So I'm going to choose to roll for a connection, and there is a chart here. It's a D100. And I rolled a 100. I know that's got to be good. You may undertake a quest. I cannot believe I rolled that in front of you. Undertake a quest. I actually reread the quest rules last night, which is kind of fortunate. The undertake a quest. That's awesome. A quest is multi-parts, and it's sort of handled outside of the general adventure. You will do a certain number of tasks, and as you do tasks, you will roll dice. In the quest section, it explains this. And if it's a low number of tasks that you've completed, you have to roll under the number of tasks. So if I've only done 2, that means I got to roll a d6 on a 1 to try and complete the task. If you don't roll under it, the task continues and you roll a new task that you have to undertake, which increase the number of, and these are successful, right? You keep track of the number of successful tasks that you have completed. So let's say you get up to 6. All right. Well, the odds of me rolling a 1 to 5 are pretty good. So I've completed 6 tasks for the quest. I rolled a d6. I rolled a 4, which means now I can complete the the quest, which means I believe, if I remember right, you go and roll one final big battle, and trust me, it's a big battle. It has like one of every type of level of character. Like, you have heroes and followers. Well, creatures have, they have the standard minion or warrior type. They have captains and lieutenants and special, and it's the final quest battle is mega. So that's pretty cool. I rolled 100 on video for you guys. That's awesome. So I actually have a quest. I did not expect that, so that's kind of cool. Here's another adventure milestone. I could choose to try and spend my adventure points to discover another hidden location. Remember, hidden locations are those things that, like right now, I only know my map has 3. It has a lizard folk hideout, a goblin hideout, and a bandit hideout. Those are hidden. They're not on the map. I could choose to spend adventure points right now. I can't I only have, I think, 1, and I'm not going to waste it. So that's another milestone sidebar that just appeared here in the thing. So let's see. So I did the roll for connection. So I'm not going to be looking for a hidden location. Next is decide your adventure. Here we go. This is sort of like in 5 parsecs. If you're not familiar with 5 parsecs, just forgive me for a moment. But in 5 parsecs, this is sort of where you choose whether you want to do an opportunity a battle, or a patron job, or a rival battle. Here you get 6. You can explore a location, battle an enemy, you can ride a patrol, carry out a contract, you can do a rest, or you can quest. Well, I could choose to quest, but I'm not ready for that part yet. Rest up, I don't need to do that. That basically burns a campaign turn, but it allows your followers or heroes who are injured to heal 1 turn. I don't want to do that. I don't have a contract. I don't want to explore a location. That would be like on my map, I have an unexplored location that I got for free when I was creating the region. I could choose to go explore and see what it is. I don't have to commit to it. Let's say it's a monster, a monster lair. I don't automatically have to do it, although I can. Instead, what I want to do, I could choose to battle an enemy threat. Now, if you remember, I have 3 enemies. I have bandits, I have goblins, and I have lizard folk. I could choose at this point to pick one of them and go pick a fight. Or I can ride patrol. Battle an enemy and ride patrol will both get me to the table for some combat. Carry out a contract will as well, but I don't have a contract right now. So really, if I want to get 2 sort of known fights that I can probably survive, or at least most of my warband will survive, I will want to choose battle an enemy or ride patrol. So I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to choose one of those in just a moment. But before I do, I want to flip to the page for both of those so you can get a little more detail about it. So I can battle an enemy or I can patrol. All right, let me do the patrol first because it's actually the easier to explain. So you come over here and it tells you after you get. I'm not going to. I told you I was going to buy some stuff. I might do that. There's also a rare goods table that I can roll on, but I believe I can only do that if I find a rare good. Then I would come over here and roll on a rare good. It says when rolling for rare goods. Oh, you know what? I know what it is. Rare good is well, you can only trade during the trade phase. You can only do the common items, which are right here. Some items can only be purchased from a settlement of a certain size. So there is a column that tells you whether it's available in a village, town, or any. And if you're out and about and you roll randomly, either maybe you meet somebody and they say they have a rare good, or maybe you do a dungeon delve and you uncover a rare good. The rare good table's on page 89. And it says only one of each item can be purchased. Unlike common items, there is no settlement. Well, apparently I guess I could buy a rare good. I misread that. I'll deal with that later. Let me jump ahead. So on page 90, this is going to be huge for you guys. On page 90, there is a flow chart, and I mentioned this in one of the previous videos. We just went through the prep stage. So depending upon, I'm now in the adventuring stage where I'm going to choose my adventure, decide your adventure. I can explore, and if I choose to explore, it gives me these steps, which are explained later in the book. It gives me these steps that I do. Enemy threat, here's an explanation. Contract, travel, ride patrol, rest up. Well, travel is needed if you choose explore location, to do an enemy threat, or to do a contract or quest. Those 4 will always require you to do a travel roll, which is what I did in the last video. If you choose to rest up or ride patrol, you will not have to do that random travel. You'll rest up, you just go straight to the resolution phase, which is kind of like the random rolls that come after a battle. If you choose to ride patrol, you will follow the instructions there, which will cause an encounter, and when the encounter is done, you will move to the resolution stage. So almost all of these, with the exception of rest up, point to the encounter stage. The encounter stage is the battle. That's what you're moving towards. So right now, I'm trying to decide between ride patrol and choosing an enemy threat. If I choose an enemy threat, I have to do a travel roll, and that can be scary. You don't know what you're going to encounter. You could encounter another battle, which means you could end up fighting 2 different times before you get to the resolution stage. It actually explains that in here, that is a situation that can happen. If I choose to do just an enemy threat, then fine. I will choose my threat, I will roll for the location, the activity, and the end goal, and then I will do a travel roll, and then I'll set it up for a battle. So with the ride patrol, I just do a traveler encounter, meeting engagement, enemy plans. Let me jump to that. So here are the various things that you can do that are explained. So ride patrol. The option is a lower risk mission. You proceed to the patrol chapter on page 99. So you go to page 99. Here it is. There is a random chart that I will roll. It may be that you don't end up fighting anybody. Like this one says a traveler encounter. This one says a meeting engagement, which I believe is a fight. So a roadside enemy table. There's a lot of things that can happen when you ride patrol. That, not a lot, but a handful of things that may not be combat related. I don't want to do that. So I want to go straight to the I want to go straight to the enemy threat, okay? So let me make sure, let me confirm that I'm doing this right. So I'm going to choose the enemy threat. It says choose threat, roll for location, activity, and end goal. So I am coming over here to enemy threat. It says proceed to the chapter on page 97 and then do a travel roll. So I come to 97. Here it is, enemy threat. Now, it also has a table. So let me read this out to you. News has reached you of an enemy scheme being carried out, and you must race to block it. To fight a battle against a threat, you will need to establish the context of the battle. So I'm doing battle enemy. So you're going to roll on 3 charts. There's one called the enemy threat. There is the enemy threat activity. And then there is the enemy threat goal table, which I believe provides you with the objective. So let's go ahead and do this. On the enemy threat table, you roll a d6. I rolled a 5. It's the location near a randomly selected settlement. All right, I'm at a village, and there's also a town. All right, so I'm going to roll randomly to see whether it doesn't matter whether it's near the village. I'm still going to have to travel, but it does matter in the sense that it says the enemy is in the same map area you are currently in. So let's see what it says. So I rolled a 5, which says randomly select a settlement. It is the 1 to 3 would be the village. So the enemy threat is near the village. Why is that important? Because it'll let me mark it on the map that's where I'm going to do about it. I can put a little X or something, or a little V if I'm victorious. So I know where the enemy is located. I've determined that. Now it does say the enemy randomly selected summit. The enemy is in that map area. If the enemy is not in the same map area as you, you must travel. Well, technically it is in the same map area. So I don't have to do a travel roll, which is kind of good. If I had rolled this town, if I'd have rolled a 4, 5, or 6, I would have had to select the town. And sorry, I didn't realize this was out of camera view. It was 1 to 3 for the village and 4 to 6 for the town. Because I rolled a 3, my enemy is near the village and it's in the same map area, so I don't have to do a travel, which is good. So no travel, which sometimes you want to travel. You never know. You might find something, a magic weapon. I don't know, but we don't have to do that. By the way, it says enemies will not wait forever. You will fight normally if you reach the enemy this campaign turn. So I'm committed. If it takes you a further turn to reach them, you must increase the enemy encounter size by 1 figure. Well, why would that happen? Well, let's say on the travel, I roll something randomly that I hit bad weather or something, and it causes me to miss that turn. Well, now we're into the next campaign turn, and it says if you go on to the next campaign turn, you have to add +1 figure to their number. So you got to get there quick. So the fact that I don't have to travel means that I'm going to be not having to deal with that extra miniature. All right, so let's do the enemy threat activity. This is what the enemy is getting ready to do or is doing. And again, it's a d6. I rolled a 2. They are waiting in ambush. And I remember this is not good. I don't like this. It says all enemies gain the awareness trait. And I read this, but I'm trying to remember. Page 152. I believe I cannot. I'm on page 98. I got to go to page 152 and read that to you because it's kind of important. 152 is right here. They gain the awareness. When you roll up your bad guys, they can come with different traits. Some of them are inherent, and then some of them are randomly generated on a table. In this case, awareness says you cannot attempt to seize the initiative, even if the scenario would allow it. If you're not familiar with 5 Parsecs from Home, seize the initiative is a roll that you make at the beginning of the battle, and it basically gives you an opportunity to get a sneak attack or move before the game actually begins. So right now, they are in ambush, which means I am not going to get to make that seize the initiative roll. No big deal. I mean, well, it kind of is. Sometimes you really do want to get your characters moving. But in this case, there will be no attempt to seize the initiative. Let me get back to page 98 here. some of the other things that I could have rolled, like they're counting their pillage, which means you hit them at their camp, and it says add plus one gold mark to the reward if you're successful. And it says if you hold the field. Hold the field is a term in this game that means basically you're the last man standing. It doesn't necessarily mean that the enemies have all been killed. It just you've satisfied the objective, and I believe the game defines hold the field as you have at least one or more of your crew left when the enemy is either run away or killed. They can run away. So I am going to just they get awareness and I get no bonus. Finally, we find out what their end goal is. And again, we roll a d6. I rolled a 4. They are trying to carry out part of an overall enemy scheme. It says roll on the enemy plans table on page 207. So I've got to jump ahead. And by the way, if you're not familiar with this type of game, you will be jumping around pages a lot of times. So always try to remember where you are. I'm on page 98. I need to jump to page 207 and roll once on enemy plans. So 207 is right here. Enemy plans. It's a D100, and I am doing an 18, which is the enemy is gathering adherents to the cause. They're trying to increase their number. Add +1 to the number of enemies when fighting the selected threat. Once you have held the field against them twice, they will have had enough and lose the bonus. Not sure what that. I know I read about that. The bonus. Hold the field against them twice. Remember, I said holding the field doesn't necessarily mean you have to wipe them all out. There are conditions for holding the field. So obviously, I have to satisfy a condition, and then do that same one or another one. I have to hold the field twice. They will have had enough and lose the bonus. All right. So let's go back to page 80, 90. What does that say? 98. 98. So there we go. I know what my enemy's doing. They're waiting in ambush for me. They have plans to increase their number, and they are going to get +1 enemy for the battle. I have to remember that. +1 enemy. And let's see, where was it? Okay, so I know that objective. If you fail to achieve your objective, or fail to reach the threat in the following campaign turn, remove them from the map, and the consequence listed in the enemy threat end goal is applied. So the end goal, which was, I rolled what did I roll? I can't remember. A 4. Carry out part of the overall. They will carry out part. No, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. If I fail to defeat them, then I will roll on the enemy plans, which means this +1 enemies will happen from that point forward. So I don't have to do that if I'm successful. Sorry, I knew there was something I had made a mistake. So you get your objective, and if you meet your objective, you do not have to suffer the penalty. All right, now that I have decided the adventure I'm going to do, the last step is to outfit that adventure. And for outfitting, it says you may bring up to 8 items in your backpack. These items can be shared. It's not like one person's carrying them. It's treated as anyone has access to the backpack. You can choose 8 items to put in there. Your heroes and your followers will carry their normal weapon and armor, but anything else has to go in the backpack, and it's got 8 slots. So remember that. Now that the preparation is done, I'm not completely done because I want to go and maybe buy some stuff. Now it is time to move on to the encounter stage. Now what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to clean this up, and then I'm going to roll on the encounters that I'm doing, the battle encounter, and I'm going to pin that to the end of this video. But right now I want to clean this up before we go on to the next step. So give me a few minutes and I'll be right back. All right, now comes the fun part. This is actually rolling up the enemy you're going to fight and the details of the battle before you actually put it on the table and get going. The first step, and you can follow along if you've got the rule book, it starts on page 121, is to determine the foe. Now, it doesn't mention a page number, so I'm going to tell you to just jump ahead to page 154. This is where you are going to determine who you're fighting. And if you remember, in my very first, video, wasn't it the first video? No, it was the second video. One of the steps was to determine the threats. I had selected, rather than roll randomly, I had selected the gnawing horde, which were my goblins, the bandits, and the oldest kin, which were lizard folk. Now I can choose which one of these I want. If you'll remember, the bandits were called the Ruin Within. The goblins were called the Gnawing Horde, and the lizard folk were called the Oldest Kin. So starting on page 154, you're going to find charts and tables that basically break down what you're going to be fighting. So I'm going to start with some goblins. So on page 159 is the Goblin Horde. This is where it will give you some special rules about that particular type of enemy. Now, this one, for example, says, when taking morale checks for gnawlings, a 6 on the morale dice causes a figure to rush forward. A 1 or 2, typically if you roll underneath the number who have been killed, one of them will run away or 2 will run away. But in this case, if you roll a 6, one of them will run forward. And it says the gnawling furthest from your battlefield edge immediately takes a full move towards the nearest warband member and will stop 1 inch away from making contact. So it's sort of like it says it's called driven by hatred. The other thing is mob tactics. Gnawlings are practiced in fighting while densely packed. When fighting a gnawling that has an ally within 1 inch of itself, you cannot claim a combat bonus from your allies. So there are bonuses that you can get when you have friends who are close by. So apparently that is negated. So starting on page 160 is the list of gnawling horde. And these are arranged from easiest to hardest. And there's 2 pages, and it's a D100 to roll on these. Now, this is what's interesting, because I don't remember this in 5 parsecs. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody out there, but the rules tell you that you can do this one of 2 ways. Because the enemies are easiest to hardest, you can either roll randomly, which means you might roll 100 and get, for this, it would be called the Ascended. This gnawling constantly experiments with sorcery. For some, fey magic promises. Apparently, they've got something called bolts of energy. Very dangerous. So the lowest, if you rolled a 1, you're going to get skirmish pack and lightly equipped gnawlings that range ahead of the horde. Okay, the rules tell you that you can either roll randomly, or if you want a more it doesn't use the word fair. It says if you want an easier introduction to the game where the creatures sort of increase in difficulty as your warband does, it recommends that what you do is you start with the first type here, which would be called a skirmisher pack. Then once I've played them, they're off the table. On the next time I choose to encounter, whether I choose or not, the next time I encounter the gnawling horde, whether it's something I choose or a traveling roll or something like that, I can move to the next one, and then so on. And basically what I'm doing is I'm removing the easier ones and moving towards the harder ones. I think I'm going to use that, at least until I get better with the combat rules. Once I've sort of got this game figured out, I may go to a more random thing. But right now, that seems to make sense, because obviously I don't want to have to go through all this work of creating a warband and then roll up the most hard, most difficult, crazy, powerful enemy who wipes me clean, and then I have to start over again. So I think for this first campaign, unless I determine that things are just too easy, I'm going to use this method, and it recommends you do this for all of them. So if I encounter the bandits, I'll come back here to the the enemy within, the ruin within, and I would start at the first one and then move down. The rules tell you that once you've eliminated all of the goblin types, once you've faced them all, then from that point forward, you roll randomly for any future encounters. Now, in this case, with the gnawling horde, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 total types of enemy types. And once I encounter all 12, working easiest to hardest, then I can start rolling randomly on this chart again. But once I fight the skirmisher pack, I won't fight them again. I'll move to the gibbering horde and then the gnawing raiders and so on and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that I am going to be fighting the skirmisher pack. And they have stats that are very, very similar to 5 parsecs. So if you're familiar with it, this will make sense, but I'll explain it. You have a number. This is how many show up. It says +4. I'm going to be rolling for the number of enemy in just a minute, but I'm going to add 4 to whatever that is. Their speed is 7 inches /3. They are fast, little boogers. They can move and 7 inches, whereas all my guys, I think, are like 4. So that's crazy. Their combat is +0, which matches mine. And their toughness is 3, which also matches my guys. And their armor is 0, so there won't be any armor to get through. And their weapon is ranged 4 slings. And I'm trying to remember, the number means something. Oh, that's right. 4. However many I roll up, there are 4 slings, ranged weapons to distribute, and the rest of them will have simple weapons, if I remember the rules. And I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. Now, you're not done here yet. It says these are lightly equipped gnawlings that range ahead of the horde. They often function as scout or spies, and they have 2 traits. They are skirmisher, and they are crawling. And if you'll also remember, they are also awareness, which means they are waiting for me, and I will not get the bonus roll for seize the initiative. So let's go back to page 121, and you know what? I should probably tell you what those descriptions mean. So skirmisher is the enemy makes ranged attacks even if they moved a full move. Weapons that normally allow no movement, such as crossbows, will allow a half move instead. So these little guys with the slings, they'll be able to make their full move, which could get them in range, and then they can use their weapon. Whereas the rules state that some of the weapons, you cannot do that. You can't do that. Now, the other one is crawling. Let's go look at crawling. Crawling is the enemy may dash during sight battles. I'm not doing a sight battle right now, but there must be a rule related to using dash during sight battles that crawling creatures, I guess, can. These things, if they decide to do a dash, they can move 10 inches, which is more than double what my warband. So they're going to be able to reach me very, very quickly. So that takes care of the foe. Now what I do is I go back to page, 121, and so I've determined the foe type. That was step 1. Now step 2 is determine the number. You roll 2d6, and you take the highest. And remember, I have to add 4 to this. Now, there are modifiers to this. It says if you opt to play with 7 or 8 figures, you're going to add 1 additional enemy to the number. So this would go up to +5 if I had like 7 or 8. But I have 6, so I'm just rolling 2d6. Let's hope I roll 1s. And I rolled a 6 and a 4. So I will take the 6. I will add 4. So I am facing 10 skirmisher pack. 10 skirmishers. There are modifiers. For example, it says if after adjustments you outnumber the enemy by more than 1, you automatically increase their number by 1. Well, they outnumber me right now. So the enemy profile will indicate how many ranged troopers. So 6 of these are melee and 4 are ranged. Now, unknown enemy, I'm not facing an unknown enemy this time. And then enemy armaments, it just basically tells you what they come. It says if armed with a ranged troopers carry the listed weapon and a light weapon if armed with a bow or crossbow. They carry a standard weapon if armed with a throwing weapon. Melee enemies carry a standard weapon. Ranged troops carry the listed and light. So these 4 ranged also have light weapons, like I guess daggers, and the 6 melee have a standard. Ranged troops carry a standard weapon so they just have standard, which is at 0 + 0 or 0/0 modification. Let's keep going. Now, step 3, I forgot to do step 3. Enemy armaments, I already did that. Step 4 is where you determine if there are enemy leadership or whatever. There's a table here. It's a D100. And this will tell me whether there is no leadership, a sergeant, a lieutenant, a captain, or a unique foe. You don't want unique foes this early in the game. All right, come on. 58 is a lieutenant. So one of these numbers, an enemy is typically led by more powerful individuals. Roll a D100. I believe that is one of them. It doesn't add to out of the 10. One of them is a lieutenant, and they get something like here it is. Lieutenant gets +1 combat and +1 toughness, and they also have the parry and tough attributes. Which, man, they're just lining up here with special abilities. So I have 9 goblins, and the 10th goblin is a lieutenant who's a little tougher, got a better combat bonus, and got some other skills, and he's leading them. I did not roll for a unique foe. If I had, you immediately on step 5, there's a lot. 5, 10, 15, 20. Looks like about 20 to 25 unique foes. And just looking at these, like, look at this. Let me pick one. Infernal Spawn, speed 6, combat +3. Damage +1/+1, toughness of 4, and armor of 2. So that's crazy. Now I do believe, and I think I read this somewhere, if you defeat a unique foe, there are some benefits that you can do. And also, when you roll a unique, they have a motivation, which is on page 127, and that's where you can sometimes get some cool stuff or some bad stuff. Like here, if you roll a 20, a 21, they were hired, recruited, or summoned as additional muscle, no special rules. But if you rolled 100, they are here to hunt your warband. You cannot seize the initiative, and their attacks have poison. I mean, crazy. You do not want to roll a unique individual too early. All right, so there we go. We have determined that we are fighting 10 goblins. All right. Now, the next part of the encounters, this was the encounter section, by the way. Let me write that. Encounter. This is the encounter phase, excuse me. All right, so in the encounter phase, now we go on to the battle. I am not fighting. There's a section on setting up terrain. I'm going to ignore that because you can set that up at your whim. We have to determine what type of scenario that we are going to play. Now, some of the things that you will roll randomly will, like a monster encounter, it may say you are fighting a. Let me just jump ahead here. You are fighting a. What types of encounters? A defensive battle, or it may say you are fighting a camp raid. Now, in this case, I am fighting just a generic meeting. What was it called? A meeting engagement, which is scenario A. And it tells you, when you'll, and that is on page 130. Because this is a meeting engagement, I have to roll to see what my goal is here. And this is very similar to 5 parsecs, where you have defend, reach the center, move through, which means get to the other side. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 7 options here. So let's go ahead and roll and see what I get. I got a 10. That is fetch something. All right, so obviously I'm going to have to retrieve something from the battlefield. So once you determine what it is you have to do, you go and you find that section. I'm not playing with a time limit because this is one of those patrol. I picked a fight, so I'm going right at it. Random features, I'm not going to worry about that. Fetch something. You've become aware of something of note in the area. If you can find it, it is no doubt worth a few pennies. Randomly select a terrain feature on the table. Within the first 6 battle rounds, a member of the warband must move into the feature or adjacent. Retrieving the item requires an interact action. After round 6, the item is lost. If the item is picked up, the character must either leave the battlefield or hold on to it at the end of the battle to complete the objective. If the carrier becomes a casualty, The item can be retrieved using an interact. If the battle ends with the item is on the ground, it is lost. So you got to pick it up. Now, remember I told you that the objective here, since it's to fetch something, if I get this, if I'm successful, I don't have to worry about that penalty for this type of enemy, where they add +1 enemies to all future battles. And now, you don't have to do this, but one of the things I love about this game is tables. It gives you an option where you can actually go see, what is this object that it may not matter, but if you're interested, it says the table below can be used to add detail. Roll a d6 for each column. So here it is. Who told me about this object? Does it matter? Probably not. It may affect the game. Hold on, let's see. I rolled a 5. Who told me? A friend. Add +1 story point if you find the item. If no friends are available, and right now I don't have any friends, treat as an interested party below. So let me move down. Interested party. They will pay 1 gold mark as an additional reward. It's a small box with a secret compartment. It has no material value, but as you search the battlefield, you will find something else. Isn't that cool? It's these little tiny details that I'm going to write here that I rolled a 6. Interested party. And I do this because sometimes I like to review after the game. Sometimes you miss things. So it's always good to write them down, because after the battle, you want to go back through your notes and say, oh yeah, I forgot. It was an interested party who paid me 1 additional gold mark, and it looks like I found something else. So that's pretty cool. The table below can add use detail as you see fit. So it has no material, but as you search the value, you find something else. How do you get the reward? So that is the scenario. I established the objective. Now let's keep going. Step 2. Hold on. That is it. Sorry. That is my battle. I am going to be fighting a meeting engagement against 10 goblins, and my goal is to get something off of the field and bring it, run away with it, or at least have it in my hands before 6 battle rounds ends. It's got to be less than or equal to 6 battle rounds for the item must be picked up. Okay, so now I know the scenario type. Let me go a little bit further here. By the way, some of these scenarios, they will show you, I don't want to give away too much here, but they'll show you the map of like how you're to set up the battleground and how you're to play it. And what any special rules that are there. Scenario D, for example, is a hideout raid. So when you do a hideout raid, you're going to consult this little chart here to determine how that works. Let's keep going. There's a site battle for E, which I'm not doing. And the first move, that's not it. Okay. I know there was one other place I'm looking for here real quick. Sorry. Scenario F, there's a lot of scenarios to play. Okay, so ending a scenario. It ends with the following. The enemy has no figures left. If that's the case, you hold the field. The warband has no figures left. This happens if every member has retreated or becomes a casualty. You do not hold the field. The objective. Note that completing or failing the objective may happen whether your warband or the enemy figures have left the field. You may have held the field without achieving your objective. So let's say I didn't pick up the item, but they all fled. Then I still hold the field. That's it. So I will either succeed or fail at this mission. And this is where this video is going to end, because the next video will be this battle. And then after that battle will be the post-battle rolls, which is a whole... I mean, you probably enjoyed watching me roll up all this stuff. There's a whole bunch more to roll up after the battle is completed. So I'm really looking forward to that. But the next video, I guess video number 4, will be my warband going up against these 10 goblins. And I will, with this video, I will type up all this stuff a little cleaner. And I will append it with a PDF of my warband. I have picked out spells for the wizard and made a few other things that you'll see in the notes section if you want to know what has changed from like the previous PDF to the current PDF. and I'll update the map with this little encounter that's getting ready to happen, and all of that will be available through a link. Check the video description below, and there will be a link that you can go and download all this stuff. All right, that is all I have. Yes, we are now to the point where I can set up a battle. And I've been doing these videos one right after the other almost, because I really want to start playing this game. I play a lot of scenarios, a lot of solo games, and I want to get back to those. But I really wanted to get this one started, jump started, and get it to a point where you could see an actual battle. And then probably once that first battle is done and those first post rolls are done, then you're going to start seeing a video about once a week or maybe once every other week. I try to play 5 Parsecs from Home. I was trying to play it every week. I'll do the same here. Sometimes life gets in the way, so just bear with me. But let me get this first battle done and get some rules under my belt. Let me get some feedback from you guys in the comments saying, oh, no, you did that rule wrong. And trust me, it happens, and I don't take offense. Anytime you play as many games as I do, the rules just start to blur and you make mistakes. But I always play to try to have fun. And so that's what I'm going to do with this one. All right, that's all I have for this video. I'll be back. The next one will have me set up to play and fight my goblins, and I will see you then. Till then, this is Jim the Tabletop Engineer. Everybody, take care.